I'm continuing our series of 5 things I love about Croatia, based on my personal experiences over the last 22 years. Today we're in the lovely town of Jelsa on the island of Hvar, which was my home for 13 glorious years and was without doubt the most beautiful place I've ever lived. And here are 5 things that I think are great about Jelsa. Number 1 is Zakrižen, which is a Holy Week procession which literally translates as behind the cross. This is a tradition which has gone back over 500 years, year on year, even taking place in the desert in El Shat, in the Sinai desert, back in 1944 and 1945, as Dalmatians were evacuated during the war. And this is probably the most important event of the year for the people of Jelsa. It's one they take very, very seriously. And it is a barefoot crossbearer who walks 22 kilometres through the night, starting at 10 o'clock in the evening on Maundy Thursday, arriving back in Jelsa about 6 to 7 o'clock the next morning. He visits 5 other places on the way: Pitva, Vrsnik, Svirče, Vrban and Vrboska. And those 5 settlements also have simultaneous processions going around through the night. He's followed by his team of acolytes and a couple of thousand pilgrims who follow through the night. It's really, really quite magical, and my favourite time to be in Jelsa, without a doubt. The second thing I'd say that I think is great about Jelsa is the wine. This is a very, very important wine town even today, but back in the day it was probably one of the most important towns in the whole of Dalmatia. If you come today, there are various really, really high quality producers just outside the town in places like Svirče and Vrban. But if you come to the town itself, you have 3 really, really fantastic producers, all with different things to offer. Probably the most famous of which is Andrew Tomic, who is the biggest wine tourism event on the island. And you can go down to his Romanesque cellars. You can even have toga parties down there, and he has really, really high quality wines. But don't also miss out on Ivo Dubokovic and his very interesting candlelit tastings in his konoba as you enter the town. And he's been known as the leading garage winemaker in the whole of Croatia. And also one who's not so well known but is very, very interesting is a guy called Teo Hulic up in the old town of Jelsa, where he also has an excellent restaurant. And he is making some really, really high quality, unusual wines, combining some local varieties with international varieties, and also saving a lot of the forgotten wines of Hvar. So, for example, he is the only person who makes a 100% Makuya, which has almost died out, and also, even more rare, a Palaruja. So well worth checking out. The third thing I really think is great about Jelsa is the early morning walk to Vrboska, which is probably one of the most beautiful walks I've ever done. It's a beautiful coastal road through the pine trees, and I used to get up when I first came here at 6:30 in the morning and just walk along that magical road. So it takes about 35 to 40 minutes depending on how quick you want to go. Some beautiful, beautiful bays, including places for swimming where not many people go. And then of course you come into the magnificent Vrboska. The fourth thing, in a place where I spent a lot of my time in Jelsa, is the main square, which is probably one of the most chilled places I've ever been to. 7 little cafes, neatly arranged around the square with a church behind, and just the living room of Jelsa, a fantastic place to see how a local community operates. It's something for all ages. You see little kids of 2 years old running around, being taken care of. You know, their parents can have a coffee and somebody else is always looking out for them. And it also has some fantastic built-in features for young dads trying to come down for a pint, such as this wonderful former water storage tank which doubles up as a parental control device. I loved it. And finally, the other thing I really love about Jelsa, and I really actually miss, is the bells. When you come from a city to a small community like Jelsa, you get away from the hustle and bustle, but there's one sound which is constant almost throughout the year, and that is the church bell, which rings on the hour every hour. So 2 o'clock you get 2 rings, 10 o'clock, 10, and so on. And this is something that you can actually judge how well you've slept through the night, because did you remember the 3 o'clock or the 4 o'clock? And the most disorienting time of the Jelsa calendar is 3 days before Easter, when all the bells go silent. And it's really, really hard to sleep because you're subconsciously waiting for the bells to come, and they don't for 3 days. And then on Easter Sunday, the bells come back in style, and just standing on the terrace overlooking this magnificent, magnificent town with the Easter bells and all the joy is really one of the highlights of the year for me. So Jelsa is a beautiful place to come in the summer, great beaches and so on, great restaurants. Me and Mrs. Jones, definitely my favourite. But if you come out of season, there's plenty of culture, wine and fun things to do as well. And I actually prefer it out of season, and I encourage you to visit.